What's up guys, it's Drifts and Lifts here. Alright, so today's episode we got an exciting one for you guys, one I've been waiting to show you for a while now. So, our good friends at Power Driven Diesel, so the shirt I'm wearing right now, if you guys don't know who Power Driven Diesel is, check them out on YouTube, on Facebook, Instagram. So, back when I had my first gen Cummins, I slowly started putting some mods into that thing to make it a good all-around kind of daily driver, one you can have fun in, makes pretty good power, that kind of thing. You can tow cars with it. So if you guys remember that truck, I actually was looking for a set of injectors to buy, and I stumbled upon Power Driven Diesel on YouTube. The guys definitely know what they're doing. They're big Cummins enthusiasts. They also do Duramax and Power Stroke stuff as well. But these guys really specialize in Cummins motors. So these guys have like a 2,500 horsepower truck. They do drag racing, sled pulling, basically all the competitive stuff for like a diesel shop. So a ton of respect for them. They definitely, there's a reason why I went with their injectors. I really like that they're super knowledgeable on everything they do about Cummins. There's a lot of companies that make injectors, but after doing a lot of reviews and stuff like that, I went with Power Driven because they have excellent reviews, they're really high quality stuff, and the guys, again, like I said, they know what they're doing. So, thanks to Power Driven for sponsoring this video. They gave us a ginormous discount on a massive pile of parts. Everything we need to basically make 600 plus wheel horsepower in my truck here. So we're gonna be showing you guys that pile of parts right over there in a sec here. And then after we're done that, we're actually gonna show you guys my good friend Michael, the guy with the camera. He actually bought the exact same truck as me. So if you guys remember, we were looking for a truck for Mikey to buy that was basically this trim package with a 12 valve and a manual transmission. The one slipped away from us that we went to look at before, but luckily we found another one for an actually way better deal, and this one turned out to be an awesome truck. So we'll check that out once we're done this, but yeah, so I'm really excited guys. Let's check out our pile of parts we got here. Alright guys, so we got a pile of parts here. We're going to be showing you every single one, kind of what they do and why we bought them essentially. So when I was kind of putting together a parts list, I called up Power Driven Diesel and talked to Josh, the guy that works there, and he was able to, the one thing I love is that when you call these guys, they're all really knowledgeable about these trucks and these engines. When you ask questions, they know what they're talking about, and Josh was able to put me together a really nice complete package that's gonna make a reliable 600 horsepower wheel truck. So, all right, let's start with the parts, guys. As far as the fueling side of things, so we went pretty heavy on the fuel. The goal was to kind of make a fairly quick, responsive 600 horse. We didn't really want a super laggy, so we'll check out the turbo size in a sec here. So we went with 5x16 injectors. So these are like essentially like a 250 horse over, I think a 200 to 250 horse over injector. So really big. These will be capable of some really good fuel. Yeah, Power Driven, super quality injectors. I had a set on my last truck and they're awesome. So now we got AFC Live. So essentially for a 12 valve, there's no way to tune it because it's a mechanical injection. As far as computer stuff goes, you don't tune it on a computer. This AFC Live is what you're gonna use to tune a 12 valve fueling curve. So this allows you to go maximum fueling as well as dial back when the fuel comes in and how much comes in. So a lot of the time with the diesel, you'll actually make less power if you're spitting out too much fuel in the low end. So a lot of the time you're over fueling it and the turbo's gonna spool a bit slower and stuff like that. So this allows you to dial that in so you can have it on a dyno. And because we're gonna be drifting this truck and actually like, a lot of stunt kind of maneuvers with it, we're gonna have a lot of throttle modulation, and we don't really necessarily want it to be max fueling all the time because that may actually slow down our response and our turbo spool up and that kind of thing. So AFC Live is wicked as far as that. It's the only way to tune a 12 valve Cummins really with a P pump. So next we got Hot Rod Modified Cummins lift pump. So this is actually same, really similar design to the factory lift pump. It's one of these piston style lift pumps, but it's got a way beefier spring and I'm sure some other changes in it as well. Then we got an adapter, so this we can run it without the fuel heater. So yeah, the fuel heater is just another restriction. You don't really need a fuel heater, especially in British Columbia. We don't get too cold here, maybe like 0 degrees Celsius kind of thing. Okay, we look over here. We got the Remand rocker pedestals. So we actually need these to run our head studs. So to do aftermarket head studs on a 12 valve, you need machined rocker pedestals. And essentially, let's take a look here. So It just has a slot for the head stud to go into. Basically is what it is. It's just a machine like that. So another necessary part of the puzzle. All right, so next up on our list of parts here, we got our gauges. So this is a power-driven diesel 60 PSI boost gauge. It's got a warning light in it, so pretty nifty gauge here. And it's funny how diesel gauges don't have vacuum because they don't have a throttle body. I only found that out like 2 years ago, surprisingly. Yeah, so this is a EGT gauge. So this goes up to 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. That's pretty much maximum you're going to want to go on these motors in a short burst of time. You don't want to run it at 20 or 2,000 by any means. That's not good. So I forgot to mention, as part of the fueling, we got some 7mm delivery valves. So this is more or less like a full cut delivery valve, just with it's like a bit less aggressive than a full cut. So it's pretty much a race, like a street race style delivery valve. This will help flow a lot more fuel. We're gonna have a ton of fuel for this thing. It's gonna be rad, man. The amount of black clouds and smoke we're gonna be rolling is gonna be pretty tremendous. So also had the governor springs. We already put that in the truck. So this is the 4K governor spring. That made a wicked upgrade. So if you guys have a 12 valve and you want to do a really simple upgrade, but you don't want to go too crazy, really cheap but does a huge difference is these 4K gov springs. So with our AFC, we got a max travel kit. So this is what we're gonna be running when we're doing the AFC live. So this longer spring just allows it so we don't get coil bind in a lot of rack travel. So once the rack pushes far, the stock spring actually binds because it's too short. This one's longer, so gives you a little bit more room to play with. So yeah, let's go into our big box of stuff here. Boom, we got some head studs. So this is part of the reliability aspect of it. So what are these, Opti Torque? They're not ARPs, but they're pretty much just the same quality from what the guys at Power Driven were telling me. A little bit cheaper, which is nice. So this is a 12 valve, you know, head stud kit. So that's gonna allow us to run way more timing, way more boost, with hopefully keeping the head on the truck. So without having to do a head gasket. Let's see here. Got our magnetic timing degree wheel. So this is kind of cool. Let's see here. Let's open this up. These are really cool. Power Driven sells these. You guys can cop them as well. So it's a magnetic timing degree wheel. So essentially you're gonna want this for doing your injection pump timing when you're bumping your timing up. You put this on the crank and you disconnect, you pull the gear off the injection pump, then you dial the pump, or the motor back, and then you put the gear back on the pump, and the pump will be advanced in comparison to the motor. So yeah, that is awesome. What else we got in here? So, like you saw, a lift pump adapter kit. We got some aftermarket push rods. So these are gonna be, you know, we're gonna be running high RPM, ripping on the truck a lot, 650 horsepower. They recommended we run some aftermarket push rods. So maybe not necessary. You probably could have got away with the stock push rods, but never too safe, right? And if we're spending the money, we may as well have the truck reliable and also really fast. All right, so next on our list of parts is this, we got 60-pound valve springs for a 12 valve. These are gonna help us rev high and not get valve float. So another safety mod, kind of for the reliability standpoint. So this is a really common, everybody should be doing this on their 12 valve if they're planning on souping it up, running more boost, that kind of thing. Really good to have. You know, you really don't wanna throw a valve. You don't want to float the valves in these motors. That would wreck a lot of things. So yeah, if we head over here, last couple odds and ends that they sent me, which was really dope, is a delivery valve socket. So that's where you cannot remove your delivery valves without this, as far as I'm concerned. We've got a locking washer for the injection pump. So another thing, rack plug. I already installed this on the truck. So this is the rack plug for if you're running a 160 or 175 horse pump. Allows you basically to have more rack travel. We got the AFC foot, so it's another more rack travel thing. The factory AFC foot has a little bit extra piece on there and it stops. So this one's cut down essentially. Yeah, little spacer kit for, this is the, oh, okay, it's the delete spacer. So this is for deleting our fuel heater and stuff like that when we run our hot rod lift pump. We got a P7100 timing gear puller, so you really You really need this to pull the timing gear. It definitely helps out a lot. I don't know how else you could do it. We got a 12 valve injector puller, definitely really necessary. 12 valve spring toolkit. So basically all that kind of stuff. And like I said, the push rods. All right, so let's go over to our final part in the, and this is the big daddy. This is the one that costs a lot of money. Actually not quite the final part, but pretty much. So this is the turbo. This is where the air is gonna come from, guys. All right, guys, so this is the turbo that we went with. After talking to Josh at Power Driven Diesel, he said we could have went a little bit bigger for our horsepower goals, but because we're gonna be using the truck for drifting and stuff like that, he said maybe a little bit better to go with a little on the smaller side, just so we have better quick spool up. So this is a Borg Warner 64.5 millimeter with a billet wheel. So this is a wicked turbo. This is a nice turbo. They're definitely the nicest turbo I've ever owned. So I believe it is a 70 millimeter exhaust wheel and a 64.5 millimeter compressor wheel. So this turbo is capable of 650 horsepower in that range as a single, probably 600 as a single. This would be kind of like another turbo you could run as like the primary turbo on a compound setup, but we're gonna run it single because I didn't have enough money to afford another whole turbo and stuff like that. So, and just due to simplicity, I think it's gonna be nice to go with the single turbo, just less to worry about, less to break. It's really dope too, because Power Driven gets these all assembled to directly drop in your factory location. This will be a super easy install. Like these turbos are super simple to install. Basically just bolts up like factory. One thing I left at home is our 4-inch downpipe. So we also got one of those with a V-band clamp, so we're gonna run that. As far as the exhaust for the truck, I'm either gonna go side pipe or a stack. I really wanna do a stack, but we'll see if I can find a nice big chrome semi stack. I don't know. We're gonna figure that out at a later date though. So but yeah, anyways, I'm really pumped about this turbo, guys. I think should make around 50 pounds of boost. You know, once we bump up the timing, it's gonna be using all that boost, which is gonna make some really good power. It's funny because the truck, like right now, is probably about 250 horsepower, maybe 500 foot-pounds of torque, maybe a little bit more. And it already rips so good. Like I'm already really impressed with how fast the truck is. So I can only imagine with another 3 times the power, it's gonna be pretty bonkers. We got one more part. Come over here, Michael. So our South Bend clutch. So I got a dual disc 650 horsepower capable South Bend clutch. Basically the beefiest of the beefiest. I should be able to do 3rd gear launches with a clutch like this. And also to go along with the beefy clutch, we got a beefy input shaft. So tucked in there, I'm not gonna show you guys, but it is an upgraded input shaft on these transmissions. The input shaft, when you go really high horsepower, that's the first thing to break. So we got a beefy input shaft that we're gonna be installing in the transmission when we do the clutch setup. And also we're gonna be welding the 5th gear nut. We're not gonna weld it all the way around. We're just gonna tack weld it so we don't mess up the strength of the main shaft. But yeah guys, so that is pretty much a wrap up of all the parts. So this is everything we need to build a pretty badass Cummins truck. Being a single cab, 2-wheel drive, long box, it is, and being a manual transmission as well. This thing's gonna be just crazy to drive. I cannot wait. So definitely subscribe to the channel if you're not already to see kind of the updates. We're gonna be kind of building this one part at a time. We also have BD Diesel decided to sponsor us and is sending us a manifold to use. So we're gonna be running one of those as well. And yeah, I'm really excited for this truck build because it's kind of the first time I've ever properly built a Cummins truck. So anyways guys, let's check out Mikey's new truck that he got here. All right guys, so this is the 12 valve that Mikey purchased about a week and a half ago. So this is pretty hard combo to find, being it's actually the exact same truck as mine. 1994, it's got a 12 valve Cummins in it and an NV 4500 manual transmission. It's also a 2-wheel drive single cab. This one's also got roll up windows. And the only difference I could see as far as spec levels compared to mine was this one doesn't have AC and mine actually did have AC. I actually deleted the AC on mine just for more weight reduction and simplicity. But yeah, so Mike, you got a pretty sick truck here. Paid the exact same amount that I did, which was, so we got like the exact same deal for the exact same truck. Really cool. So pretty rust free. Pretty much no rust on this truck other than like a tiny bit on the body in a couple spots. I think on the boxers a little bit. The grill's a little bit busted out. All typical kind of tinkering stuff. The 12 valve runs really good. It idles a little lower than mine, so we're gonna adjust the idle, just bump it up a little bit. That should be fine. It's got a 175 horsepower P pump in it, so exact same as my truck, really. In the engine bay, there's no really like rust or anything. It's pretty good as far as that goes. This is an untampered with truck, so it's like bone stock, grandpa spec. There is nothing really to it. It's really slow. These things are crazy slow from the factory. Mine was like super gutless, and then do a governor spring and take the fuel plate out, and it's a whole new truck. So checking the interior. I really like the interior of this truck. Okay guys, so you can see, holy, on Mikey's camera it looks so red. So this is such a cool interior, and the reason I like it so much is because it's actually the exact matching color combo that the panel wagon is. So this truck is white out exterior with a full red interior. Door panels, dash, like it's super, super red in here, which is really cool. Like I would choose this. If my black truck had a red interior like this, I would have like, you know, splooge everywhere. But yeah, and we NV 4500 manual transmission. There's not a whole lot to be said about this truck. It's just basically a clean second gen, you know, the bench seat like mine does. And yeah, I don't know, man. This is gonna be good. So Mikey's kind of plan with it is going to be not as serious as mine. It's not gonna be like a 600 horsepower truck or anything, but we're gonna do the basic performance upgrades, like, you know, pull the fuel plate, do a set of governor springs, maybe even like a different turbo on it. We're gonna kind of play it by ear, see where it goes, but we're gonna kind of build this into an all-around, just really good daily driving, good on fuel, can tow your drift car when you want, can kind of take you wherever you need to go. It being a two-wheel drive, maybe you're not gonna go off-roading in it, but two-wheel drive's not that much of a limitation in the snow. If, in my opinion, you can always put weight in the back, and if you have good snow tires, you know, take it easy and you'll still get where you need to go. Yeah, this one's got overload springs, so if you take a look over here, this one's got beefy overloads on it, so somebody was hauling something with it at one point, just like my truck. I think it was like a fifth wheel hauler or something. Really funny, the only rust spot on this truck is right here that we could find, like that's actually bubbling. And ironically enough, that is exactly where my truck has a bubbling rust spot as well. So even more reason why these are literally the same truck for the same deal, same, you know, Mr. Same from planet Sameville. But yeah, so it's still got a stock exhaust on it. How many 12 valve Cummins have a stock exhaust on them? Not many these days, because most people, you know, chew tobacco and straight pipe them. I don't chew tobacco, but I straight pipe them. So that's pretty much Mikey's truck. So we're gonna slowly build this up to be a good all-around unit. All right guys, so that's pretty much a wrap up of today's video. So I hope you liked it. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, you know, leave a comment for us. Any engagement is awesome for the channel. And yeah, lots of stuff to come. So we're gonna be slowly throwing parts on my truck as the days go by. That thing's slowly gonna make more power and become more awesome. The panel wagon, we're planning on filming a good drifting video for you guys once we have a dry day where there's not wet everywhere. And that's gonna be something to look forward to. And then we're also gonna be starting the build on Miss Buff. So the replacement for Miss Huff, the one we're doing an NA build on. I'm gonna start pulling that car apart and, you know, stripping it out, kind of getting it prepped for our, you know, our plans for it essentially. So we're gonna leave you there for now, guys. Like and subscribe for curdled Volvo gravy. Peace out. Cold, man. Frick. Freaking cold, man. Especially in British Columbia, we don't get too cold here.